Good afternoon. Good afternoon, everybody. I hope you can hear me well. It's the Internal Education Kiev. So if the sound connection is good, just could you please write hello or just a plus, just to see, for me to see that the connection is fine and we can start. Hello everybody. You can also write where you come from. It's always good to know the geography of participants of our webinars. Lviv is here. Hello Lviv. The Internal Education is doing a great event in Lviv here today in Lviv. Chernigiv, Kiev is here, Ternopil, Uman. Okay, thank you very much. Thank you for being with us. Thank you for finding time to spend this hour with the Internal Education. So it's 4 p.m. sharp. I guess we can start. My name is Olena Mihodui. I'm an academic consultant. I work for the company called Internal Education, and our company exclusively represent a big educational brand in Ukraine. It's Pearson Education. So thank you very much once again for being here with us for this online training session. I do hope and will do my best to make it practical, useful, and just so hope you will not regret spending time here with us today. Kherson is here. All right. Okay, so before I start actually, I will show you this slide because that's always what teachers ask about at the end of the webinar. So everybody who's watching me today, who's watching the session, will get a certificate of attendance. So within a week after the event, so please check your email boxes and just do get in touch if you don't receive your certificate, so we'll just try to fix it out. All right. The good news, spring is coming. I hope you feel it in the air. So so we had some rain here in Kiev, but spring is here. Almost a couple of days left. And I came across this phrase. I loved it. So I think it's fun and it's just nice. Let's march into March. So what I want to start with today is to say let's march into March with good mood and some fresh ideas for your classroom. And actually that's what I will try to do today. All right. So there is something on my screen which I hope did not break the connection. Okay, so my question over to you now, and I want to start with a question because I want to know a little bit more about you. So the question is very simple. Do you teach teenagers? Can you please write yes or no in the chat box so I can see what kind of teachers are listening to me today? So yes, because I worked with teenagers for a long time and I kind of know, yes, somebody says yes. I'm sure you enjoy that. Tatiana Fedik says no. Well, I'm sure you're looking forward to that. Actually, it's fun. I always liked working with teenagers, especially if you manage to win them over, to win their respect. They are fun to work with, but it's a challenge. Some college teachers, well, teenagers can be a bit younger, a bit older, but still this, teen years are special, and well, they are a certain kind of learner group which we need to know how to handle. All right, so most of you said yes. So congratulations. If you say yes to this question, if you teach teenagers, it means you teach a new generation of students, which is known as Generation Z students. They're fun, they're great, but they're different. They are different from us. And we as teachers, we just need to take that fact into consideration. I'm not going to speak today about changing our teaching approaches completely. So it's not necessary. Today we'll try to think of how we could adapt the way we teach to this new kind of students who process information in a different way, who expect some different things in the classroom, and so on. Can I just ask you something before I continue? There is this box which keeps, just popping up on my screen and which says error. Do you see that as well? Yes? So at the same time you can hear me. All right. Okay, so I don't know what's that. So if you can see me and you can hear me well, so it means we can continue. Fine, it's my computer probably trying to say something to me. All right, so Generation Z. And it's not only the generation of students, the generations of students which change. It's also generations of resources which we use in the classroom. They change from time to time. And today, actually, I will try, during the session, to show you some features of a new resource, new Pearson resource, which I absolutely love. It's the second edition of our best-selling course for upper secondary learners, which is called Focus. So here today, I'll try to give you some insight into what Focus second edition is like. So I hope you'll enjoy that as well. All right. So another question, have you ever thought about this? Which generation are you? So I've never actually asked myself about this before I started working on this session. There is a certain classification of generations, so we now know about Generation Z, which is our students, but there are at least 6 categories, so with certain names for different generations. Now I will show you some time slots. My time slot, I mean years, the slot when I was born is number 3. All right? So what I want you to do is, thank you very much. So yeah, to write the number 3s, 4s, which time slot is yours? So which generation you belong to? 3s, 4s, 5. Number 4, 3 as well. All right. Okay. So we're kind of somewhere in the same boat. Our students, our generation, that students are probably not number 3. Okay. So I'll give you the answer in a second. Thank you. So we've got number 2 here, 4s, 5s. Okay, thank you very much. And now a very brief key to this generation test. I'm not going to go into detail about how each generation is different from the rest of generations, but still, I'm sure you know people who belong to different generations. For example, here my mom is the silent generation kid. So it's people who are 70 plus. And Robert De Niro. So I actually picked some celebrities to illustrate, because everybody recognizes their faces. It's just easy to associate a certain familiar face with a certain generation. So the silent generation, people like Robert De Niro, are people who are 70 plus right now. All right. So number 2, they're called baby boomers, people who are over 50. So 50 plus. My sister, for example, my older sister, she is a baby boomer. All right. So, and I think we had a couple of 5s here. Number 3, so that's me and those of you who wrote 3. So we are Generation X people and Mr. Cumberbatch. So we're in great company. All right, so number 4 is Generation Y, people who are now in their 30s, okay? Emma Stone, she's now a very famous actress, okay? I'm sure you watched some films with Emma Stone. So Generation Y, people in their 30s. Finally, so our students, like teenage students generation, it's number 5, Generation Z, and a very prominent representative of this generation, Billie Eilish. I don't know if you know this girl. She is quite famous now, especially the color of her hair, which she changes from time to time. Well, so she belongs to this generation, and actually we're going to discuss people like her and our students a little bit later. And finally, kids who are now 5 or 6, 7 years old max, like the oldest, they're the so-called Generation Alpha. They're the coming generation, and I'm sure that in a couple of years, we might have another session or webinar with you speaking about how Generation A kids are different from previous generations, because they are different. So each generation has some features which just stand out and which teachers always need to adapt to. By the way, this girl, have you seen her before? Anastasia Radzinska. This girl is very famous on YouTube. She is a very famous YouTuber. And last year, for example, she made around $20 million, like with her father's help, just through this YouTube blog or vlog or whatever. So that's a new generation of people. They know how to make a living online, and well, she's still, you know, a baby, but she is different. All right. Okay, so today it's about this slot, number 5, Generation Z. So that's them. And actually why I decided to talk about this age group of our learners, the topic itself was inspired by one of the lessons. I was looking through this new edition of Focus 2, Focus Second Edition 2, and I saw this reading lesson, and you know, just it made me think. I found lots of interesting things about myself and my older sister and my younger friend, and actually, so there is this reading text about, you know, different generations and some interesting facts about that. So I decided to do this session on like what our students are like, and I don't know, I'm sure this information can help us teach them better. Okay, so before we look at some practical things which might be useful in the classroom, let's look at some facts, like important facts about Generation Z teenagers. Fact number 1, which is very important, we need to remember that and plan our lessons accordingly. They read less than 20% of text. And if we think about this, it's not the amount of reading which I'm talking about right now. So we all agree that students nowadays read less than we used to read. So parents complain, which is natural because parents usually belong to a different generation. They used to read more. So here today, it's not about how much they read. It's about the way they read. You will probably agree with me when I say that students nowadays, they mostly read from their gadgets. They're called screenagers, so they're not used to reading, you know, from paper and books as much as we did that. So, and they usually scan quickly through the text, through lots of information. Kids now, teenagers, live in this overload of information. And this skill is vital. So the ability to scan to find something they need in this, just ocean of information. It's a vital skill, and that's how they approach reading or looking through information. And again, that's what we need to keep in mind. Fact number 2, and that's very important. There was some research which proved that almost all teenagers say, and that's true, that they prefer, if they were given a choice, to learn something in a real face-to-face lesson with a teacher, with some instructions from the teacher, or learning something through video, like, this YouTube how-to videos. They would vote for a video lesson because the researchers say that in the generation that students' brain, there is some area which is responsible for visual images, and it's developed better than a few generations before. So even physically, today's teenagers' brain is better prepared for getting information through images, not written text. That's why striking pictures, just videos, all these things are very, very important. Kids now don't want just to hear the information or read about it, they want to see it, okay? And sometimes you want to touch it because, well, that's how it works nowadays. Another fact, and here I will ask for your help, the generation that teenagers' attention span is even shorter than before, okay? So it's getting shorter and shorter. It means we need to be very creative as teachers, to keep them interested, to keep them with us. Can you try to guess how long they say, okay? How many seconds teenage students can concentrate for? 40? Very optimistic. Thank you very much. I wish my students could listen to me non-stop, for 40 seconds, 15, 30, 20. Okay, ready to see the answer? Here it is. Okay, so it's a well-known fact. I double-checked it, so just in different sources. Now they say it's only 8 seconds that students can concentrate on one thing just without being distracted or without starting to think about something else. Which, again, if we think about this, so it looks very negative, okay? It looks as if it's something which makes our life as teachers even more difficult. That's true. They quickly lose interest. We need to just change activities to choose something which is fun and engaging for them. Well, okay. But motivation is a little bit different thing. But at the same time, short attention span, and well, that's a fact now, it means at the same time that they are much, much better, our students are much better at multitasking. And again, it's a fact which was proved by some research and so on. Even my generation, for example, I'm not good at multitasking. I can only concentrate and do well just one task. Today's teenagers can, just skim a text, listen to music at the same time, and, just answer their friends in the chat box. And at the same time, they could be, just doing homework or something. I'm not saying that it's good, but they are much better multitaskers. And again, it's something to consider when we plan and set up the tasks for our students. All right? And fact number 4, students, our teenage students, 100% of them, they are tech savvy. I am sure you saw this adjective before. It's a very popular word, very popular adjective. It's everywhere, tech savvy. It means students are very knowledgeable about technology, about all kinds of gadgets. And again, it's a fact, if students know more than, for example, me about a smartphone, I use it. So it's not a shame to ask students to teach you something if I don't know how to download a certain app, and they can help me with that. They would be happy if a teacher, well, accepted the fact that students can do something better than a teacher, and they would help you with, with pleasure. So summing up, four features, which I kind of illustrated right now with these four facts about modern teenagers, Generation Z teenagers. They're digital, and again, it's something which will influence the way we teach a bit. They are visual, and we need to take that into consideration and just use this knowledge to our best advantage. They're speedy, okay, so they can switch to their attention from one thing to another and learn both things at the same time. That's true. And global. This is interesting and I think important. Generation Z students don't care as much as we did. I wanted to say they don't care at all, because that's what I really think. They don't care much, let's say, about nationalities, countries, borders, skin color even. And this is a kind of generation, they are ready to move and live to any other country in the world. So this is a kind of generation who are ready to be employed in another country and to work in some multinational, multicultural surroundings and environment. And that's great. That's great. And again, it's something which we as teachers need to keep in mind when planning our lessons. So remembering all these things about our teenagers, Generation Z teenagers, what do you think they feel when they see a sign like this at school? Or if there are no signs like this in your classes or schools, so they can hear it every day, like take away your phone, no phones at school. They rebel, thank you very much. They feel frustrated. Irritation is, I think, the simplest emotion which they feel. So something like this triggers irritation, which is natural. I mean, just because, they are different. So gadgets, smartphones, all this, this is their life outside class. And, so when it's banned, in the school, in the classroom, of course, the first thing they feel is something not very pleasant. So I'm not trying to say just let students do whatever they want with their smartphones and so on. Just, of course not. We are the teachers. We want to be in control. We want them to learn something in our subject, of course. But if we insist on just this ban, smartphone ban, it will not change much, because that's what happens. They will continue using them anyway, just trying to hide them and so on. So what I suggest today is to try a little bit, at least to try to change the rules of the game. And let's look, I'm sure and I know that lots of teachers today, lots of teachers who I know, they allow students to use smartphones, gadgets in the lessons, and there are so many different ways in which you can let them work with their gadgets, starting from the simplest, checking the spelling of a certain word, or letting them search for the meaning of a word or pronunciation, or using social media for a certain purpose in a lesson. So teachers have already started doing that. So in my webinar today, I will try to illustrate some ways, simple ways, which will not require much preparation time, because that's also important, but which will allow you, well, my colleagues, to use online content in the lessons. It means using smartphones in the lessons, using online content, and I bet your students, your generation, that students will like it. All right, one more thing which I decided to, well, let's just stop and I'll explain what I mean by this no wow effect any longer. I know some teachers who allow their students to sometimes use gadgets, or they sometimes use the teachers, their own laptops in the lesson, and sometimes they think that that's enough. The fact that, a student used his smartphone just once in a lesson, or a teacher used his laptop, is something which should create this wow effect, and the teacher automatically becomes, cool in the teenager's eyes and so on. It's not true any longer, since smartphones are now like air, like oxygen. They're everywhere. So just the fact that, wow, today we can use our smartphone for a change will not create this wow effect any longer. So fine, cool, they'll be surprised, just when you do it for the first time, but they take it for granted. Okay, smartphones, fine, what shall we do with that? And here is the question, which is more important than just let's use the smartphones. What shall we do with that smartphone? And here it comes to the teacher's knowledge of how to use those gadgets and online content to its best advantage. So this is a teacher, and the teacher who knows all the features which define Generation Z, and the teacher who can find that key, and who knows what works best with this generation. So just some tips from me, things which I did with my teenagers, things which I know my colleagues try to do in their classrooms when they work with teenagers. Social media, like Viber, WhatsApp, Telegram. Have you ever Kahoot? Yeah, thank you very much, Irina. I know that Kahoot is a very popular thing. Kids like it, teenagers like it. Well, teachers know this thing. I don't know if you ever tried using something which they do on a regular basis, social media. I know that teachers sometimes, if, for example, a teacher if the class is divided into smaller groups, teachers have these, chat groups with their classes, like, a Viber group or a WhatsApp group with the group of students or class. What I sometimes do, for example, I start planning the lesson for tomorrow, all right? But I have this like Viber group with my class, and it's like fishing, I do something before the lesson. So I ask my group the following. I send them a question. A question should be A, related to the lesson, but kids, usually teenagers, they don't think about that. And B, a question must be interesting and must make them really want to do some research and find some answers. For example, here, hi guys. Question, have you heard about JR? He's cool. What do you think? And that's it. Nothing more. So what do you think happens next? Your students, teenage students who are in this group chat room with you, they will definitely, I'm sure they will Google these two letters, and they will try to find what JR means. So what's that? It's him. So it must be a person, it must be a male person, and so on. And that's what they see. So as soon as you Google JR, and that's what you see. That's the guy, actually, that's him. JR is a very famous French street artist, and he's just incredible. He's amazing. I would definitely recommend you after, the webinar, to try to find some masterpieces which he created in different cities around the world. That's him again. And this guy, JR, for him, his picture, his art object, it is not just, something smaller. It's a city, it's a street, it's a number of buildings. So, and I don't know, so the way of thinking, the way of creativity this man possesses is just amazing. So some examples of what he does. Okay, this wonderful ballet girl. This one is impressive. It's a Mexican-American border, and here's this installation of a Mexican child looking over the border, which is very, touching. This is France, this is Paris, I hope Louvre, I hope you recognize this famous pyramid. And again, what JR did, there was this, again, installation. So when you look through at this pyramid from different angles, you saw absolutely different things. For example, here it looks like the pyramid disappeared, okay? So it was like airy, invisible. From a different side, people saw this. Incredible, right? This is Brazil, Rio, slums in Rio. Again, something thought-provoking, and with teenage students, there is something for discussion, okay? Then this is Paris again, a great floor idea. This is New York. Actually, why I decided to start with this JR thing. Do you remember what I told you at the beginning? So I'm preparing for a lesson. My lesson is tomorrow, let's say, okay? So I started my preparation with the social media, with my Viber group, which I have with my class, let's say. And I asked my students a question about JR, and hopefully they would do some research, and hopefully they would come across pictures of JR, of his masterpieces, and all these things are happening before the lesson, right? So it means when the time of the lesson comes, they are ready, and hopefully, actually, the lesson itself is from Focus. Second edition, this particular unit is from Focus 1. This is a lesson. It's a proper listening lesson with this pre-listening stage. The listening, there is a track, like audio track, and the post-listening stage here. There are some pictures in the book. Of course, we could start with the book because the stuff is interesting. But with this, with a little bit of creativity on the teacher's side, okay? Your students, your generation, that's the task from the book about JR. So it would trigger the imagination, it would trigger the curiosity and engagement. So I think it will not take much time on the teacher's side, right, to send them a question and to ask them to find something about JR, and then your lesson will start in a much more interesting way. So it will be more relevant, okay? They will have something to contribute after doing that research before the lesson, all right? So this was a short illustration how you could start working, start interacting with your generation, that students prior to the lessons. You can start engaging your students before the lesson starts, just using social media, internet, letting them do that research. It's not difficult and they will like it. And again, sometimes teachers say, but unfortunately, we don't have internet connection in the classroom. So unfortunately, we don't have computers, but it's not important. All students nowadays, they have either a computer or a smartphone and they can do it before the lesson. So most of them, 99%, they have internet access at home at least, if not at school. Or another idea, you come to the lesson, okay, and you bring your laptop with you. Students are happy. The books are closed, okay, so nothing about the books yet, so we don't open the books yet. And you open your laptop and you show them some pictures. My question is this. Look at these pictures. They are great and very nice place. Here is another picture of the very same place, okay? So something happened to the water. Here it looks like it's hotter, right? Another question, what country do you think this is? It looks like some ancient building, right? And again, if it were happening in the classroom, some students could start searching for some places with thermal baths, okay? Let them do that. If they start just guessing, trusting their gut feeling, let them guess. But anyway, I would actually let them do whatever they want, just to wake the imagination up. Can you, by the way, that's the question over to you. Can you guess the country? Try not to say Hungary. Thank you very much. Hungary is a very good guess. There are lots of thermal baths in Budapest and other places in Hungary, but it's not Hungary. Czech Republic, France, Hungary. Are you ready to see the answer? All right. Now, if you were Great Britain, thank you. All right. So if you were my real students, the next slide on my laptop would be this. Now, guys, open page 55, and here is the place where you can find the answer. You've got 1 minute, and the race starts. They open the books. Thank you very much. It's absolutely correct. It's England. It's Bath. So, and well, the city is just great. It's amazing, and it's true. It's difficult to believe, but there are these Roman baths in the city. Okay, so, and you see, and then we continue with the lesson. The lesson here, again, this time it's Focus 2nd edition, level 2. And there is this amazing writing spread. I absolutely love writing lessons in Focus. It's always a spread, which means there is a chance that they can produce something, because, I don't believe in just, showing your students a model and asking them to remember that and produce something identical in one lesson. It doesn't work like that. So it usually takes some time, because written production is sometimes even more challenging for students than spoken production. So in Focus, writing is always 2 lessons. So here in this wonderful spread, we can see the picture of Bath. So you could start with the book. It's there. The pictures are great. But it's just a little bit of this digital touch that the books are closed. You show some pictures of a strange, unknown country using your laptop or computer. They do some guessing or search or whatever, and then you show them the page which they have to open and do the race for who finds the answer. And you show the page of the book on the screen of your computer again. These are just some little things which help you manage generation students better. And then you continue the way you planned. You look at the model, you analyze it, you teach them how to write a short plan for their writing, then they kind of do the draft probably in class, and so on. One more thing which I sometimes do, if you have a chance, if you have, for example, like here, it's 2 lessons. I know that I have 2 lessons for this spread. So if you Google Bath or the best places for a tourist to see in Bath, and you go to YouTube, there are lots of things, and you can find people do vlogs these days. You know, there are lots of people, real people who have their own vlogs, and then they upload those things on YouTube. They're free, and you can show students, your teenage students, something like, for example, this is the first one which I Googled. Visit Bath, UK, top 10 things to do in this city. It's something very real. It's something very authentic. And it's something which your students would definitely like. You can start watching this in class, or you can ask them to learn more about Bath at home using YouTube. Whatever way you choose, but just adding some bits of, just links to real life outside the book, outside the classroom, so they will definitely like it. I'm sure they would. So once again, even if you know that today's lesson is writing, it's something serious, you're getting ready for ZNO and so on, but if you start with a laptop with some nice pictures, letting them search for that strange city, if you show them some bits from YouTube, again, they will definitely like it. So trying to engaging them using online content is possible even during the lesson. It doesn't mean that you substitute the lesson from the book with something online. No, it's just a minute at the start, a minute or 2 at the end, as a taster, as a trigger, and then you move on with the usual plan. All right. Another example, you recognize the country. All right. So this is the United States. Now, have you ever heard of a town called Natick? I've never heard about this place before. Now, the task to you, so I hope, I'm sure you have your telephone or, well, a place which will help you to Google the name and find the state. Which state in the United States is Natick in? Okay, so let's see who's the first. Massachusetts. Thank you very much. Vera is the first. Thank you. Thank you. You're very fast. Okay. Your students would love this, Google and find it. Races. If you do it, sometimes they like it. Okay. Fine. So Tatiana also found Massachusetts. It's difficult to spell a long word. Thank you very much. Yes, absolutely correct. So it's here on the map. Massachusetts. Now, this town is not really famous. It's a small town, but there is a boy who lives in this town, which actually, who made this place famous. The boy's name is Zeph Hoover. He's very talented. He's extremely talented. And now I will show you, I will not tell you what Zev is famous for, but I will show you a short video from YouTube. I found it on YouTube. And your task will be to watch this video and tell me what is unusual about Zev's project. Okay, so the boy started a certain project. So the question is, what's unusual about it? He's a photographer.
My name is Zev Hoover.
I
take pictures of miniature people, and they've sort of exploded online recently. I wanted to improve my Photoshop skills, so I started the Little Folk project, which started as just a way of getting better at Photoshop. After about a year of doing the Little Folk pictures, they got picked up by some design blogs, and then it just sort of exploded. Nature is very important in my work and definitely inspires a lot of it, and I think a lot of that comes from living where we do. Eliza, my sister, is very often the character in the pictures. Yeah, that's fine. Let me just see what sort of background you're going to be on. I find my inspiration a lot of the time just in the scenes that I photograph, so just thinking about how sort of fun it would be, how different that would be to experience if you were like 1.5 or 2 inches tall, because the world would be really an entirely different place.
All right, I guess I will stop here, but well, the video goes on. So once again, amazing, super, yeah, I was just knocked down by this video. It made me want to learn Photoshop, just it's so creative. So he took photographs of people and will Photoshop them. The size of, all right, thank you very much. Unusual photographs and just unusual young men. Actually, this project is about miniature people, tiny people, people who are an inch or, an inch and a half tall. He called it Little Folk Project. And, the video which I've just shown here is from YouTube. You can really Google and find it in the YouTube. But the very same video is in focus, and actually it's another thing which I absolutely admire about this book because it saves time. The new edition of Focus has a wonderful new section at the end which is called BBC Video Lessons, and videos of such kind like they go with every unit. So the very same, you recognize this miniature Zev, and well, here is this map where students are supposed to find Massachusetts, and here is this task, Little Folk Project, and so on. So the videos are great, the BBC videos in focus. But if you don't work with this resource, if you just Google, if you go to YouTube and Google Zev Hoover Little Folk Project, you can find the very same video and many other videos about this guy. He is now a little bit older, and he still does this thing about photography. I think he's very famous in the world of design and all this stuff. One more thing which you can try actually, and if you have a smartphone now, let's try to do it together. Those of you who use QR code scanners, you can try to scan the code which you see on the screen now, and it will lead you straight to YouTube to this particular video about Zev Hoover. Actually, I will try to do it myself to see if it works. I've downloaded this QR code reader thing. It's easy. And if I scan it, and I browse it, so yeah, it goes straight to the same video about the boy. So actually, it's one of the things which we now start doing with students. Today's generation of students, they love quick access. QR codes, it's one of the things which made QR codes so popular now. So I'm not sure about your places, your cities, they're everywhere around Kiev. In metro, advertisements, business cards, everything comes with a QR code because the access to information is so quick. So it's a link somewhere. Have you ever tried creating your own QR code? If not, you can easily do it in a couple of seconds. For example, it took me less than 30 seconds to create this unique QR code. And I'll show you the shortest way. You just Google, again, QR code generator online. You can write also QR code generator free or free QR code generator. And this is the first platform which I saw, which lets you copy the link, from YouTube with this video, and you paste it here in the space where they say enter text or share your link, and you press save. And in a couple of seconds, you have your unique QR code. It comes as a picture, so you can copy and print it and stuff. And believe me, if you try using things like this with your students, they will absolutely love it. In class, as a homework, by the way, it's in you look at homework. For example, you do something with students in class, but you want them to do some extension and to watch about this guy after the lesson. So just make a QR code, give each student at the end of the lesson a piece of paper with this QR code, and it leads them here. So Zap Hoover has his own YouTube channel with more videos, like more modern videos with his new photographs and stuff. So there is this wonderful real-life extension after the lesson. So again, so you see, if a teacher is creative, there is nothing difficult about adding the elements which your students' generation, that students will love. Actually, this is one of the reasons, just because it's so easy, and they're so popular, QR codes. New generations of book, like Focus Second Edition, it comes with a QR code inside. So when we open the book, inside this cover, every student has a unique QR code, which lets them immediately download a Focus app. It means every student will have access to videos from this book and to all audio resources, which again, so once it's downloaded, it's there, it's in their smartphone. I think it's very easy and very, very helpful, and students like it. So once again, if a teacher tries to supplement a resource, because anyway, when you teach a group of students, we need to stick to some resource because it's like a core, like a bone. But knowing the type of learners in front of us, now knowing all these characteristics of generation that students, if we add the elements, this online content, social media, YouTube, in class, before class, after class, QR code scanning, will it help you to motivate students? Of course. So once again, here is on my screen, I have kind of a short summary of how teachers can try to engage modern students in a better way, just adding this quick access to information through QR codes. By the way, try to create your own QR code. You'll find it easy, and imagine how your students will be impressed when the homework will look like a QR code, right? And one more thing which I think is important. What's next? And well, we are now speaking about planning lessons, working with teenagers at school in the lesson, but school will be over sooner or later, okay? So real life starts. So there is real life out there as they dive into real life after school, after your lessons. So, and we as teachers, knowing this kind of students, we need to start preparing students for real life, starting, from their teenage years. So that's why that's what I have on my screen. Future is now. And that's why the development of the so-called real life skills or soft skills is now so important. And that's why resources of a new generation like Focus have a new section in the book which is called Life Skills. And I will show you just a couple of examples of what life skills tasks are like, because sometimes teachers ask me, like, can you give me an example of this real life skill task which I can set up in my class? Here they are. For example, students are asked to prepare presentations, okay, and they're given some tips on how to start a presentation. This is important. I'm a presenter myself, but I find this one very interesting, okay? So in speech, a presentation, we need to repeat same thing 3 times. Okay, when we introduce our idea, when we develop it, and at the end when we sum up. It's one of those employment skills which they will find very useful when the real life starts, okay? Another example of what a real life task is like, from Focus, students do some research and they show the data they collected using different diagrams, pie charts, graphs, or like this example here. Will they like it? Of course they will. Okay, so again, so there is lots of communication involved. They develop the skills of collaboration, teamwork, communication, plus they create graphs like that using gadgets. Why not? I'm sure they will know how to start and do it better than us. Social media campaign, it's one of my favorites. When students choose a socially important issue which they care about and they start a campaign, so using social media which they choose like Instagram or Facebook or whatever, and they raise people's awareness of this issue and they offer some solutions and stuff. So it's a very interesting real life task which the students will, well, definitely like. So the final thing which I add here at the end is developing life skills, which is again as important as just letting them use gadgets and online content in your lessons. Okay, so I've tried to show you and to share with you today some things which I tried with my teenage students, which my colleagues I know do with their teenage students, and those are the ideas which we share here in our staff room. The things which I shared with you today, so it will not take much of your preparation time, so please be enthusiastic, try to care and try to teach your generation, that students, in the way which works best with them. All right, that's important. At the same time, I tried to show you our new resource, and my personal opinion, I always liked Focus. I mean, the first edition of the book. But the second edition is just amazing, with this new BBC video section, with a new life skills section. And the book itself, it was written with Generation that students in mind. So it comes with a QR code, with this special app, Focus app, well, a Pearson app, which they gives them access to Focus materials. And where it's possible to engage even most digital, just integrators. I mean, so Focus is a resource which comes in 2 options. The first option is for the so-called digital willing teachers who are not ready 100% to switch to digital option of the book. So the first option in which you can work with Focus is to have a proper student's book for working class and a paper workbook for homework. But students will, anyway, those students who want some digital stuff, they will have this Focus app. But if you are really digitally obsessed, and if your students real digital integrators who can't live without gadgets, then option number 2 for you is to use course booking class and let students do homework online. So it's possible with Focus. You can learn more from us later about how it works. Teenage students love it. Focus comes in 5 levels, so from elementary to advanced, so I'm sure you can find the level which you need for your group. And the final quote, I love it, and it's very, very true. So it's about the way we teach, it's about teachers' role today, it's about the way our students changed. Yes, they are different. They're Generation Z, we are Generation X or Y or whatever, different, but the game is still the same. So we just need to adapt, but we continue doing what we're supposed to do, right, since we're teachers. A short reminder again about your certificates. Now, within a week, just you'll get one. Please check your emails. And I'm sure you know this website here, eltdental.com.ua. It's a website of our methodological department, and all the information about our further online trainings, you can find it there, right? So there is this calendar with future webinars. There is also a calendar about events which we do around Ukraine, so you can follow us and just attend our events in other cities. So we do not only work in Kiev, so please do come and see us when we come to your place. You can learn more about other projects of the internal education, such as ProTeach, which is a longer course. So we started doing the so-called modular courses. Each module is 16 hours long. So if you want to learn more about what we do in that project called ProTeach, please, again, you can read more about this on our website. And finally, competitions. We do lots of them for teachers, for students. Again, everything is on our website. Thank you very much again. If you have any questions, I'm ready to answer. Thank you. I want to thank my assistant who helped me actually answer your questions. So as soon as we get the teacher's book, the teacher's books for the levels you mentioned for Focus, you will find that information from the manager. If you use Focus, I'm sure you know a manager who you usually contact with, so the manager will give you all the information. I hope somewhere around summer. Focus 1 again is the level, the Sappho level of the book is elementary. So usually, and the book itself is for older teenagers. So usually Focus 1 is, well, you could try it in year 7, okay, but we usually recommend Focus 2 for our upper secondary sector. Okay. TKT, yes, we have partners, our great partners, London School of English here in Kiev. They do TKT preparation. My colleagues do it in the London School of English. So you can find more information if you find London School of English in your city. It's Kiev, Lviv, or Odessa. They do TKT prep. Thank you. Grade 8. So I guess that's the question, which level, as far as I understand, of Focus we recommend for year 8. So it would be Focus 2. Focus 4. Focus 4 is an intensive course, an intensive resource, and the level of Focus 4 is B2, which is upper intermediate, which means year 11 of specialized schools. According to our program, the schools with more hours a week, like 5 lessons a week, they finish school with level B2, which is Focus 4. While non-specialized schools with 3 lessons a week, they have to have level B1, intermediate, when finishing school, which is Focus 3. So Focus 4 is a course which you can start at the end of year 10 and then work with this book in year 11. Thank you very much. Thank you. If there are no more questions here today, so I do hope to see you soon. We have an extensive program of our further webinars. Please follow the calendar, visit our website, and I do hope to be in touch with you and to see you all soon someday. Have a great evening and goodbye.